If you've been following along in the last couple of videos, then you know that the first thing we need to do is get the equation in the form y equals a times cosine of b times x minus something. So we have to factor out the 2 from the 2x. We're left with x for the first term. And then if we factor out a 2 from pi over 2, if we put a 2 there in the numerator, we put a 2 in the denominator as well. So we're multiplying this by 2 over 2. Factor out a 2 there, and we're left with pi over 4. So x plus pi over 4. I think that was similar to what we did in problem number 2. So you could also see that explanation for that. Anyway, now we have the equation in the correct form, and we want to find and plot the period. So again, the period is 2 pi over b, and b in this case is 2, so the period is pi. So we found the period. We're going to, planning for the near future here, we're going to be shifting the first graph that we draw to the left, pi over 4 radians. And so finding and plotting the period, we know we're going to have to shift it to the left, so we're going to move the y-axis over to the right a little bit so we have room to move to the left. And then we can put the period of pi all the way out here to the right. Dividing the period in half would be pi over 2, and then the first subinterval would be pi over 4. The angle between pi over 2 and pi is 3 pi over 4. So we've found and plotted the period, divided the period into 4 equal sections, draw the midline, and again we're not shifting up or down, so the midline is the x-axis. Find and label the amplitude. So the amplitude is equal to the absolute value of a, and a in this case happens to be -1. So that negative out there, that -1, that guy right there is our value for a. So the amplitude, though, is always the absolute value of that number, and so the absolute value is 1, so the amplitude is 1. Now we're going to come back to that a being negative here when we draw the graph. So it says, after we find and label the amplitude, we want to draw the sinusoidal graph without the shift left or right. So we're going to be, again, we're going to be graphing y equals negative cosine of 2x. And the negative out there means that we're going to reflect cosine of 2x about the x-axis. So normally cosine of 2x would start up here, but flipping the graph of cosine of 2x over the x-axis brings the starting point right down here. So if we start here at the low point, we go next to the midline, and then we go up here to the high point, then we go back down here to the midline, and then finally at the end of the period, we're going to be back to where we started. So we just draw the kind of like the template graph. Draw the graph of this function without the shift left or right. And we mentioned before that we're going to be shifting, because this is a plus pi over 4, we're going to shift to the left pi over 4 radians. Okay, so all we have to do is make another section, and to the left of the y-axis, so we're going to move to the left pi over 4 radians, which means each of these 5 points moves left pi over 4. And the x-axis is already divided up by pi over 4 radians, and so it's a much easier transformation. We move that point to the left. Each point moves to the left pi over 4 radians. So again, this is the 5-point system for drawing the graph of a trig function. Sinusoidal graph would be going up, coming back down like that, and then back to where we started, like a bell-shaped curve. That's one period of the function given y equals negative cosine 2x plus pi over 2. That's it, and the end of this cycle or period would be the beginning of the next one. It would just keep looking just like that over and over and over. And that's it.